Hey everybody, welcome to the Jedi Night's Watch. My name is Graham.
And my name is Rob.
Today we're going to just converse. You and I haven't been able to do a video for a while. Life has been kind of getting in the way, and we just want to catch up with you guys. This is going to be more of like a hangout. Today we want to talk about the MCU, our reactions to all the movies that they've put out, and what we're looking forward to, and just kind of why Marvel has been so successful these last 12 years or so. But before we get going, Rob, what should they do?
They should like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, no, it's good
even comment down below. But we'll talk more about that later. But comment down below what your favorite Marvel movie is. Let's get this party started, man.
Right. Check out one of my Christmas presents. It's a Baby Yoda mug.
Baby Yoda mug. Check out this old cup that I got when I was probably 6 years old. It's a Green Bay Packers cup.
I like it, even though my feelings are still hurt.
Yes, absolutely. Ugh.
Because of quarantine, I think we both had a lot more time on our hands to watch movies.
Yep.
And since quarantine started about 10 months ago, I've really kind of dove into the Marvel universe and started watching all the movies again and getting more into it. And I've actually watched a few of them 2 to 3 times since then. But as you know, I'm a DC fan. Always been a DC fan. Always kind of like kept Marvel arm's length away. Like, yeah, Marvel's cool, but I'm always DC. While I'm still DC, I will say that I have a major appreciation for Marvel now.
Okay. I was going to say, I know you're a little late to the party for some of the movies. Not all of them, but some of them. And I hope you now understand why people are upset with some of these DC movies, knowing how good the Marvel movies have been.
Right.
There's no reason for some of these DC films to fail the way that they have. But yeah, I remember first hearing about them doing like an MCU kind of thing. I know there was talks about it during like the first Hulk movie that they did.
It was like their experiment,
or maybe the second Hulk movie that they did.
Yeah, it was the second one with Edward Norton.
Right. I thought I did a pretty good job.
They don't like working with him. That was the problem.
Yeah. I didn't know they were going to do this Marvel Cinematic Universe until I saw Iron Man. And then I kind of got it. But I remember when the first Iron Man was coming out, I had a friend who told all of us friends that, oh, this is going to be so much better than The Dark Knight, because it came out around the same time. I was like, I don't think so. It's Batman.
Right.
And at the time, I don't think a lot of people a lot of people knew Iron Man. But let's be honest, since the movies and since the MCU, Iron Man has been something totally different than what he was before the movies. So I was like, Iron Man over Batman? Come on now. And I still don't think that the first Iron Man was better than The Dark Knight, but I will say that the first Iron Man is one of my favorites.
I agree.
Out of the MCU movies, and it really did kick off something special and more special than a lot of DC stuff. So props to that. I never would have believed it.
Right. And I remember we did one of our first videos when we started we did a Funko Pop review on Endgame Thanos. And I remember us talking about it, and I'm like, what are these Infinity Stones for? What's this gauntlet?
How'd he lose his hand?
Yeah, how'd he lose his hand? I'm like, I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen it. And shortly after that, I did watch it. And what the problem was with me, it was like, there's too many characters. I can't keep track. It's hard to get into. It's too kiddish or too family friendly. I like the dark
trying to
movies.
catch up.
Right, yeah, I'm trying to catch up. Like, I was trying to watch Infinity War without seeing a bunch of the other solo movies, which made it hard because I'm like, who are these people?
Right.
But then, quarantine happened, and I just kind of started digging into it, and I really just grew fond of it. And it's really actually pretty extraordinary how well these movies are with how many characters they have and how well they tie together. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about next is like, how did Marvel do this and what did they do so well? One of the things that I think they did really well is they made all the characters important. They all have their role. They all have, like, one thing I really dislike about Justice League, comes out in March, by the way,
Snyder's
is that Batman felt so unimportant in Justice League. He was just, he was rich and he was kind of like setting things up, but like, didn't really need him.
Right.
Like in the MCU, every character has their
same
part.
with the Flash, and
Right.
I mean, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, it takes all of them, like, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but no, actually I'm not, because he's a character. Like, Thanos was such a great villain because it took everybody to take him out, and just the destruction that he caused was so cool. But I don't think that's an easy thing to do with how many characters they had, is give them all a great development.
Over 20 movies.
Right, like,
yeah,
it's crazy. The characters are all lovable. Like, there's not a character that I really dislike. Do you feel any different about that?
There is not a character I dislike. You know, I think they got pretty much the perfect actor for about 99.9% of the characters.
Who's your least favorite?
My least favorite Marvel character, I'll go ahead and say Loki.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan.
Everyone loves Loki. They're gonna turn this video off. We just have like 20 views.
Gotta stay neutral.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't like Loki. Like I said, 99.9% of the movies are amazing. But if I had to choose my least favorite, I would go with Loki. The whole brother rivalry thing to me got old a little bit. I am looking forward, and I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I am still looking forward to the Loki show that's coming on Disney Plus. And I do like the actor that portrays him and everything, but it's like, you know, you go with Loki, who is like this huge villain and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden Thanos comes. Right. It's like, okay, yeah, Thanos, okay.
He wasn't he wasn't very intimidating. Yeah. He was like kind of like the little kid who was just crying and whining and stomping his foot and wanting to get his way. It's kind of like,
and I do like it when Thor and Loki have to team up.
Right.
It's almost like they have to. And you know Loki has like this hidden agenda. And I'm not saying I don't like the character. I'm just saying the way he is put in. I don't know. I don't know how to explain. But if I had to choose a least favorite, I mean, I'm not going to choose Black Widow or Spider-Man or something like that. I mean, come on.
Right. They did a really good job making you want to invest in each of them, I thought. Not easy to pull off by Marvel, so great job. And then I think all the movies connect so well. Like, you can keep watching them, and every time, no matter how many times you've seen them, you're finding something new, or you're kind of like connecting the dots on something new, and you're like, whoa, like,
well, and it's just the thought that Marvel and I guess now Disney had, well, I guess I would say Marvel had, where they knew ahead of time, you know, they had to have known ahead of time that even if people did not watch the end credit scene, that they would still be going to the theater, seeing these movies, and all of a sudden there's an Avengers movie. It's like, oh wow, all these characters? I've seen all those movies. Like, yeah, I've seen Iron Man. Of course I've seen Thor, you know, like, so it's crazy how they knew that they could make it their own movie and then bring them together every now and then, just kind of team up. And the way that they did that was over anybody. Nobody's ever going to top that. Ever.
Great.
Over 20 movies. No one, that would never be topped, at least in our lifetime.
And one tip for anybody like just kind of getting into the Marvel movies, always make sure you watch the end credits, skip through and make sure you look for end scenes. I think I finished Guardians of the Galaxy 2 today again, and I think there was 3 end credit scenes. Like, so it's like you gotta keep going, make sure you get all the way through.
Well, and sometimes like at the movie theater, it's like there'll be like, I don't know, 100 people there.
Right.
And you have like 5 to 10 people staying. And everyone else is like looking, do they know that the movie's over? It's like, do you know that it's not?
Never over with Marvel.
Something I do want to, I mean, since we are talking about the MCU, you know, we can't not talk about Stan Lee and how he is in every single movie, cameos in every single movie, and his creations and everything that he did for Marvel. It's just, thank you for that, you know?
That's awesome. Was he also in the newest Spider-Man, or is that the first one he's not in?
You know what? I think he was.
Okay. I just watched that one not too long ago, but I don't recall.
I'm not 100%.
If you guys
sure.
know out there, let us know down in the comments.
I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that was his last one that he was in. Either that or it was Captain Marvel where he's in the bus. That was his last. But my favorite one is the library scene. Or you know what? I take that back. I think it's Guardians of the Galaxy where he's in. He's like gambling or something.
Oh yeah,
it's good.
I think another thing that they do so well too is, while I said I was afraid that they were too friendly, too non-explicit, too colorful. When I wasn't really involved in Marvel. I think that's really a pro. Actually, they're great to watch with the family, but they're not over the top. Like there is still some violent scenes. There are still some language areas, which, again, not over the top one way or another, but it just helps it reach more of an audience, a broader audience.
You don't have to wait for the kids to go to bed.
Right.
And you can have it on throughout the day. It's going to be fine. Which is actually interesting that they're bringing in Deadpool, and it's still technically. I mean, from what I'm hearing, is Deadpool 3 is still going to be rated R, and so it'll be interesting the way that they bring him in.
Just kind of talking about how it's great for all ages. Like my daughters love watching Baby Groot. Like Baby Groot is now on the same pedestal as Baby Yoda. So we have in the Hot Toys case here, we have a 1/6 Baby Groot. So he's about this big, and they're always going and pointing to him, and they love watching him dance at that opening scene on Volume 2. And I don't know if your boys have a favorite character, if they love watching a certain movie.
Oh, my one son, my oldest, his favorite is definitely either the Hulk or Captain America. So
that's right. I do remember him. Yeah, because we have the same shirt. Him and I. We have the Shield shirts.
Oh yeah. He loves going like the Hulk. He loves Captain America, Shield.
That's awesome. I think finally one thing that they do really well, and again it goes with all these characters together, is it's really well scripted with great flow. And it's they're well paced. Like, while I struggled to watch them because I didn't have the backstory and all the other films, they're all well paced, and they all even like we said, the DC movies have a hard time with the pace, and Batman vs Superman
did everything backwards. Whereas Marvel, even though Captain Marvel is based in the 80s, but it came out later.
Right.
It's still, they're still able to make it make sense and flow very well, just being able to do that. And then, your audience then wants to watch all the movies a second time in order of not release date, but chronological order, where it's like, oh, this is cool. Okay. So
it really is. Like even Disney Plus, they have the category now too, if you want to watch. Now, question before we move on, and we've talked about this in the past, but I forget, why on Disney Plus are the Spider-Man movies not included in the MCU or the timeline?
Because Disney does not own Spider-Man.
Okay, so this blows my mind. I don't understand this. It's Marvel. But Disney doesn't have the rights to.
So back, I'm not perfect at explaining this like some of you, so don't judge me, but I pretty much know the basics. Back in the day when Sony made Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, they had the rights to Spider-Man. They have the rights to Morbius and Venom and a lot of other Spider-Man characters. So they bought the rights a long time ago. So, which is why it took so long for Spider-Man to come into the MCU. So when they were doing Iron Man and Thor and Hulk and all these other movies, you had Andrew Garfield on his own doing Amazing Spider-Man, and it had nothing to do with the MCU, which now it might, but we'll talk about that later. Then all of a sudden, Andrew Garfield pretty much got canned and said, oh, we're about to come up with this deal with Disney and be able to actually bring Spider-Man into the MCU with Disney. And they made up a deal, and but
started fresh.
However, Sony is still in charge of Spider-Man. So even though like that's why like Spider-Man can still go into the Sony Venom movie, even though Venom has nothing to do with the MCU, but they can still use Tom Holland,
Right.
As the same Spider-Man, which I think is what's really bringing up this Spider-Verse thing that they're getting ready to do. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics. I don't know if they'll ever be able to put Spider-Man on Disney Plus, but as of now, Sony owns it, and they're like, no.
What is your favorite MCU movie, or even just Marvel movie, but I guess more like the MCU?
My favorite, I think I have two.
That's good. I got 4.
I could definitely have 4. I would go with my top 2 being Iron Man, the original Iron Man, and the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh, great choices.
I would then put Winter Soldier up there, and then probably Endgame.
Right. Those are great.
I know a lot of people like Infinity War more than Endgame, but I really like how they tied everything together in the end. Some people were a little confused or like, oh, they should have done this or whatever.
Right.
It's how it is with every ending of anything. So, but yeah, I loved how everything just came together perfectly at the end of that phase. And yeah.
So emotional too.
Yeah. Brilliant writing.
Right.
It was.
My favorites would be both Guardians of the Galaxies. I think they're so fun to watch. They're just I love the whole team. I love the humor between them, Rocket, Quill. They're just so much fun to watch for me, and I laugh out loud. Then Infinity War, I'd maybe give it a slight edge over Endgame, but Endgame is up there as well, and then Iron Man for me. So those like 4.
Now, if you only could choose one.
If I could only choose one, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay,
I would have so much fun.
I think I would.
I would know, or it's I can't. They're so good. They're all.
For me, I think it would go Guardians, the first Iron Man, Winter Soldier, and then Endgame, in that order.
So, what would you say your favorite characters are? Now, this changes for me as the movies go on. But what do you think yours are?
My favorite superhero is Spider-Man, but in the MCU, my favorites would be Iron Man, Star-Lord. I would go. I mean, I like Captain America and Thor. They're all so good.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one, I would choose Iron Man. I think Robert Downey Jr. Nobody would ever be able to pull off Iron Man again.
My favorite character is Thor, but only at the start of Ragnarok and after. I just think, the first 2, he was a little bit more of like a preppy, almost like a rich kid. God, I'm strong, I can do whatever, and
like a prince,
right?
Like,
yeah.
But I think that they went for that,
Right, and then but Ragnarok, his character arc just really changed, and he was so hilarious in Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War, where he's like teaming up with Rocket, calling him Sweet Rabbit, and then like Endgame, he's gotten fat.
Yeah,
it's just he was great. But then I would also say like the Guardians team, just again, kind of all of them together, they just make such a great team of characters. But Quill and Rocket, obviously, and then my other one would be Iron Man. I still really like him. He kind of irritated me in like Civil War and in parts, but it's just his personality. It's the character's personality. It's who Tony Stark was. So.
And I do wish Civil War was like a 2-part, like part 1, part 2. I felt like it was way too quick.
That was another one where I was really underwhelmed the first time I watched it, but now I have a greater respect for it, knowing what
it's great movie. I wish that they would have extended it. But
you could almost call that like an Avengers movie, even, because it's Captain America, but they had so many characters in that one. Right. So many things going on.
Yeah.
Who do you think your most underrated character is?
I think the most underrated character is Hawkeye, and that's only because you don't get a lot of screen time with. I mean, you don't. I wish there was a lot more backstory. I know they're going to come out with more, and they have, in the later movies. But underrated character out of like the bigger names, that's a good question, Graham.
So I think Hawkeye is a really good one because
I would say Hawkeye or Black Widow.
Black Widow too. She's in a lot of the movies, and she kind of like
Yeah, and it might just be because they haven't gotten their own movie or their own shows or anything like that. But I feel like Black Widow should have had her own movie 10 years ago.
right because she's been in it since what Iron Man 2.
Yeah, Iron Man 2. So she's awesome. She does a really good job, and that's another person that I don't think anybody could portray it as well as she did.
Well, that's the thing too. Like we said, we're talking about the characters, and just a quick sidebar, but the casting too. They just casted the right characters for all, or the right actors for all these characters.
Yeah, or Ant-Man. Ant-Man's another very underrated character. I think he's hilarious, a lot of fun. Brings a lot to the movies. I think he's very underrated. So, yeah, especially his solo movies. Like not a lot of people talk about Ant-Man.
Right.
So compared to Iron Man and all those other movies, but it was a good way to bring some comedy. Not that they didn't have any, but yeah.
So in a way, I think this character is underrated, and I would just say Thanos. And it's only because I think he was such a great villain, and his presence in the film was just so awesome. And just kind of how he commanded the respect and all of the Avengers to take him on type of thing, and what his goal was. Like, he's very popular and whatnot, but for some reason I still think he's a little underrated, maybe.
I will take your comment a little step further.
Okay. And
I will somewhat agree to that, but I will also say that I think his name is Josh Brolin. His first name, I know it's Brolin, but first name Josh. I think he is underrated. I don't think he got enough praise for what he did for that role. I mean, the big fans always get the big, hand, or what do they call that? The
gauntlet.
The gauntlet. Thank you. To put on their shelves, or they always talk about the snap and Thanos and all, such a good storytelling and everything. But nobody talks about how good Josh Brolin did with, unless you dig deep and you read some article that somebody talked about it. But when you're out amongst your peers or talking about it with a random coworker, nobody ever talks about Josh Brolin the way that they talked about Heath Ledger, or the way that they talked about, Jack Nicholson, or, some of these DC villains.
I think too, the character was just so deep. There's a lot of layers to Thanos and why he does the things that he does. And like, in ways, like, he's such a psychopath because he loves his daughters, but then he, how he treats them.
But is he the good guy?
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean? Like,
to him, he is the good guy.
Yeah,
he thinks he's doing what's right.
It's kind of like Star Wars. I've heard a lot of people say that the rebellion are actually the bad guys.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Because they're against the government and
stuff.
But it's kind of like Thanos. Thanos, wants to, create a better place, basically. And I mean, the way he does it isn't good. But, it's still, he's got a good thought process.
Right. Do you have any favorite moments in the MCU movies, or what are your favorite moments?
Oh, it's a very good question. Well, the snap. That's a big moment.
Which one? There's 3.
Thanos, his snap.
The first one?
The first one, yeah.
You should have went for the head.
The whole, even though I kind of bashed I guess I didn't bash the relationship. I bashed that Peter Parker isn't like his own person.
Right.
But the way Peter Parker was basically dying in Tony Stark's arms, I mean, that was
there's a lot of tough parts in those movies.
Yeah, but that was really, I like touching things like that, like moments where it's not just action and not just like talking about Hydra and stuff. It's actually about emotions, and it kind of sucks you in, like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I would say those 2 moments. And then Iron Man, when he's in the first movie where he's creating his iron suit for the first time in the caves. I liked that a lot. Any scene with him and Pepper Potts. Any scene with that's always good. The fight scene between Captain America and Iron Man during Civil War was good. That whole big fight scene where they're all fighting together. You have the giant Ant-Man walking around. I mean, yeah, a lot of good scenes. Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like, "You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy."
It's a dance off.
Yeah, yeah, the dance off. That right there is my favorite scene of all time.
I think some of my favorite moments are from Iron Man, the first one, when he's got the Mark III suit on and he's like, it's his first time in the field.
Yeah,
he just fires it and then it starts walking away.
Oh yeah, that was
up.
Cool. Very
I thought
cool.
that was pretty cool because you finally saw like the finished product for the first time.
Yeah,
and then Thor and Rocket together on their quest in Infinity War to create Stormbreaker, and then finally the final battle scene of Endgame. Just everything they're going through, all the emotion, and then obviously, Tony.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a great scene when Captain America comes back and he's older and he finally got the dance. And then the best opening scene out of all the movies is Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's dancing and he's taking, that whole movie is perfect.
And then just again how they tie things together. So like they have that scene, and then and then
they watch
see it from you see it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
and it's War Machine. And he's like, so he's an idiot. He's like,
yeah, that's awesome.
What are you looking forward to the most with where the MCU is going?
The Spider-Verse, man. It's getting me excited for Spider-Man. I was a little down how they were making his character, even though I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker. Nothing against him. But I really like where they're going with it. If all the rumors are true, it does sound like they're true because contracts are getting signed. But having Andrew Garfield back, my personal favorite, which is not a very popular opinion.
He's my favorite too. We agree on it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into those movies, but yeah.
I enjoy those. I don't want to get into it either, but I just want to say for the record, I enjoy those the most outside of Spider-Verse. Those are my favorite Spider-Man.
And I love Tobey Maguire, and I just will say this. The one main thing that I hear, unless it's like a YouTube video or something where people really get down into it, the one main thing I hear is about Andrew Garfield is that the movies were too much of a romance movie.
Right.
Okay. If you watch the original trilogy with Tobey Maguire and his relationship with Mary Jane, that is way more hokey, corny relationship. I love you. Oh my gosh, Mary Jane. More so than any Andrew Garfield film. And the Andrew Garfield one, the second one, is the only one that got me to tear up. So, emotions once again. So, other than that,
to me, they're all love stories because a high school kid, he is finding love for the first time and he's trying
wants love, man.
Yeah, like it's the Spider-Man story. So
yeah, and I would say the Spider-Verse that they're doing, bringing Andrew Garfield back, Tobey Maguire. Are they going to make him older looking? Bringing Leonardo DiCaprio as a Spider-Man? I mean, it's going to be amazing. I don't know how they're going to do that. Yeah, and then we all know that Gwen Stacy died in the second movie. So since there's rumor that she's coming back, is she going to come back as Spider-Gwen? And then, of course, Mary Jane, Kirsten Dunst is coming back. So, and some of those old villains, the Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, Jamie Foxx's version of Electro. And they did say that they're going to have some of the original suits that they wore in some of the movies, and then some of the characters are going to have like upgraded or more traditional to the comic books. So I could see Jamie Foxx going yellow instead of purple. So that would be really cool to see.
That's going to be hard to comprehend, but it'll be awesome when we see it. So some things that I'm really looking forward to: Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I think is at least another year and a half out. Because I'm wondering too, what happened with Gamora? She doesn't remember Quill, and then she just goes MIA. So I'm assuming they're gonna go find her. And is Thor a part of the Guardians now?
Yeah.
So I want to see that. And then I'm just really looking forward to Black Widow. I want to see.
Yeah, I was gonna say Black Widow after you were done, but you know, Black Bad Widow. That's a good.
When we were pop hunting, what were you calling her?
Black Canary. Every time I was looking for a Black Widow pop, I kept saying Black Canary. I'm like, what the hell?
By the way, pretty soon we are going to be able to get back together. So
yeah, oh yeah,
we are going to be filming, and we're going to be hopefully going places. So
yeah,
now for that,
doing some more searching and
right,
and then Spider-Man 4. That's going to be with Tobey Maguire, which is part of his contract to finally finish off that trilogy. Well, now,
20 years later.
Yeah. So I wonder if that was part of his thing, which is why it was taking him so long to sign. He was like, the only way I'm going to sign is if we can finish off my story.
Right.
Process. And then they finally said, okay, it'll still make money, obviously.
So right now there's kind of a lull in Marvel. Not much, because we just had WandaVision come out. But I think
it's really good so far. No spoilers with that yet.
Right. I think Star Wars has kind of taken the momentum in the last year, but I think Marvel is going to be picking right back up really quick here. And yeah, just before we let you guys run out of here, I know it's kind of a long video, but it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you, Rob, and hanging out with you guys.
Absolutely.
Without spoilers, what are your thoughts about WandaVision? Because I know we're both caught up on it now.
It is so good. It's different than everything. I love that about it.
Yeah, lots of good stuff coming up. If you guys haven't subscribed, I know we're on our quest to 1,000 subscribers. Can't do it without you guys. The comments that you guys leave, the fun that we're having with you is just it's really awesome, and we really enjoy it. So keep it coming. Keep
really does help.
Yeah, keep watching. We got a lot of things we want to do. It's just kind of that lull where Rob and I are almost ready to get back together, and once we do, it's really going to take off. So be a part of it with us. Pretty soon, we got this bad boy.
Oh,
so speaking we'll review this. But we got Funko Pops that we haven't been able to review that we want to get to. We got Hot Toys. We got movies we want to talk about. So be a part of the Jedi Fans Watch.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, this was fun.
It was fun.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Good to see all you guys out there in YouTube land in WandaVision. No, but yeah, and until next time, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Goodbye.